My wife, 33F, and I, 34M, have been together for 12 years, married for 8, and we have 2 kids, 11M and 9F. Around a year ago, I noticed my wife increasingly sending me these trad wife or traditional housewife TikToks. I have nothing against that type of relationship, but I don't think it makes sense for our current family situation. I do earn quite a bit more than my wife and enough to sustain our family on my own, but I don't see the need to do so. I work 80%, and my wife works 50%, and besides Wednesdays when both of us are working, either one of us is always home for the kids. I could work 100% and let my wife be a stay-at-home mom, but again, both of my kids are attending school, and in my mind, there is no need for my wife to be at home 24/7. She became increasingly pushy about it over the past 2 months, and again, I just kept on telling her that there wasn't any need for that. If we did decide to go down that route, what would she do during the hours our kids attended school? I know damn well our house doesn't need to be clean for 6 hours a day. She would constantly try to butter me up with, "You would have dinner ready every day when coming home from work," and something about unlimited slop top or some BS like that. Again, in the nicest way possible, I would remind her that our kids weren't toddlers and our current work-life schedule allowed us to function perfectly fine. We got into a pretty heated argument 2 weeks ago about it, and my wife completely stopped having bedroom intimacy with me to show me what I would be missing out on. She's basically been treating me like a roommate since. I just thought she would get over it and this was just a phase, but God, was I wrong. I came home from work yesterday and saw a bunch of presents on the dining table. At first, I thought they were all for me since my birthday was in a week, but then I saw the labels on them addressed to my wife. I read one of the letters attached to one of the presents. The last sentence on it was literally, "It was such a pleasure working alongside you, and I wish you all the best moving forwards." I thought this was some sick prank. A few minutes later, my wife just casually strolled into the living room acting like nothing was wrong. I guess she saw my mad expression and had the audacity to tell me, "You'll get over it." I just lost it. I left without saying another word and went to my parents' house. I feel absolutely disrespected. Why the hell would my wife think it was okay to just quit her job without telling me and just expect me to be fine with it? My wife has been blowing up my phone with texts and calls demanding to know where I am and that the kids miss me. I just told her to go find a lawyer and that I was done with her, and then proceeded to block her. My son just sent me a voicemail crying and asking why I was divorcing mom and if I was leaving the family, and I guess that kind of broke my heart. I haven't responded and honestly don't know what to say to him. My mother-in-law has also been demanding that I return home and apologize to my wife. My parents also seem to be siding with my wife since they are traditional Muslims. My mom also used to be a stay-at-home mom. I feel like I'm wrong for immediately jumping to divorce without hearing her out, and besides this whole job drama, I love my wife too much for this to be the end of our otherwise perfect marriage. But on the other hand, I feel like I've lost complete trust in her. Should I just swallow my pride and let my wife stay at home from now on, or should I follow through on divorcing her? Update 1. First of all, I just want to thank you guys for the overwhelming support I have received. I've received a ton of messages, but please be patient with me. This week has definitely been tough on me, and this whole family drama has taken a toll on me physically and mentally. I just want to add a few crucial details that I missed mentioning in my original post. I suffer from a genetic heart condition that puts me at risk for stress-induced cardiac arrest. I used to work full-time but was forced to cut down on my work after suffering a silent heart attack. This was nearly a decade ago, but since then, I've worked on my own physical and mental well-being. Some people didn't understand me constantly mentioning why it was such an issue working the extra 20%. I honestly don't know how much time I have left, and my kids are the most important things in my life. For my own mental health, it's essential that I get to spend time with my kids throughout the week. Besides my wife and kids, I have nothing. I hate my job, and I purely continue for the sake of my kids and wife. Well, after spending a day at my parents' house, eventually, I felt enough time had passed for me to gather my thoughts on everything. What she did seemed like the ultimate slap in the face, but I went back with the intention to resolve this and didn't want to escalate this nightmare. My wife seemed happy I returned but wasn't apologetic at all. The kids, especially my son, were ecstatic. That sort of made me ignore the lack of remorse for the time being. That same night, after putting my kids to bed, I told her we need to have a serious discussion. I told her how I felt about everything she did. The fact that she knows about my health condition and still went through with it. The fact that I set clear boundaries and she still chose to quit her job without my consent. How the fact that she told my son that I was going to abandon the family really felt like a stab in the back, and how throughout all of this, she didn't even seem remorseful once. The fact that she chose her own happiness to the detriment of mine. The fact I sacrificed so much for the family, and I got repaid like this. The fact that we now, as a family, have to make major lifestyle changes since a third of our family income vanished. For a split second, I saw an ounce of sadness in her eyes before she went right back to being annoyed with me. I then simply told her to lay out her half of the story. Here is a summary of what she said. She felt ignored by me, constantly rejecting her proposal. She had worked long enough, and this was finally the time for her to enjoy her life as a true wife. She also said that I was being a baby about the whole spending extra time with the kids thing. That really pissed me off, and we ended up getting into a heated argument. I couldn't bear any of it anymore and just ended up sleeping in the guest room. Until yesterday, nothing changed. She constantly tried to play everything off and wanted to embrace her new role by constantly trying to smash with me and by making me my favorite dishes. It just felt like she was trying to manipulate me again, and I wasn't having any of it. I just kept on sleeping in the guest room. Well, my birthday was yesterday. After work, my wife and kids picked me up, and we ate dinner together. This was probably the first time I genuinely had a smile on my face in a week. Well, that smile vanished because she tried to seduce me again later that night. I rejected her, and to my surprise, she had a full-on mental breakdown. I just held her as she started apologizing for what she did. She claimed she didn't understand how much she hurt me, she was sorry for making me feel like an afterthought, etc. We ended up sleeping in the same bed yesterday. I felt like things were finally moving in the right direction, and I again asked her about searching for a new job today. Instead of getting mad, she just replied with, "I need to think about it." Yeah, that's where things are as of today. It feels like progress is being made, but I don't know, this just might be another manipulation tactic of hers. I'll probably make a final update in a month or so. Reddit isn't doing my mental health any favors. Update 1.5. Op found talking in a subreddit for people with drinking problems. I've noticed myself reaching for the bottle far too often lately. Life has been terrible for the past week, with a lot of family drama and work being more stressful than ever. I guess I'm just trying to drown out the misery for the time being. I'm scared I might turn to booze more often in the future. As of right now, I'm drinking about 2 glasses a day when I get back from work. It used to be 1 glass a week. My gut is telling me to stop, but I feel like a zombie just going through life. I don't have any energy or self-control left. I also have 2 young kids, and I definitely don't want to set a bad example for them. Is this normal? Update 2. Again, I'm beyond grateful for all the love and support you guys have shown me. If I'm being honest with everyone, I've been drinking a lot to get through this mess. I felt like a zombie just wandering around with no purpose. My wife's actions completely broke me. Thankfully, I've managed to cut most of it out over the past week, and that's mostly thanks to Reddit. You guys seriously helped me keep my mind busy with something else besides booze. Being reminded that I have 2 smaller versions of myself, looking up to me and learning from the things I do, really helped me snap out of it. I've been at my lowest since making my first post, and I think I've just hit a new low. Until last week, nothing had changed since my last post. My wife still pranced around enjoying her new lifestyle while I suffered in silence. After posting my update, I did realize that my wife was 100% trying to manipulate me into submitting to her demands. I asked her if she actually started looking for a job, and she hesitated and told me no, saying she needs more time. If I'm being honest, that's all I needed to know from her. I tried making this work, but honest to God, I couldn't keep living like that. Every day that passed felt like a part of my soul vanished. My wife kept on trying to please me, but it didn't seem genuine at all. I've also started noticing her getting lazy and starting to neglect my kids. My wife stopped cooking, and after working 9 hours of hell, I now was the one to help my son with his homework and the one to play Barbie with my daughter. I'm not complaining about spending time with my kids, but I could seriously see this becoming worse as time goes on. I don't know where the woman I once fell in love with went, but that thing that lives with me wasn't her. I know a lot of you are going to smile hearing this, but I did tell my wife that I want a divorce last week. I came home from work and I saw my wife sitting on the couch watching TV while my daughter was crying in her room. I just snapped at that moment. I told her we need to have a serious discussion after the kids go to sleep. After I put my kids to sleep, I sat down with her and told her our marriage was over, and that I'll be contacting my lawyer tomorrow. Divorce was never something I ever planned on doing in my life, but I just felt like something needed to change, or my kids would be visiting my gravesite in a few years. Our culture frowns upon it, and I knew I was about to get serious backlash for it, but at this point, I couldn't care less. I don't know why, but she thought I was joking and started laughing. I told her I was being serious this time, and her manipulation methods weren't going to work on me anymore. Her face just went pale. She then went from screaming at me to crying, to then blaming me for every issue in the family, to then begging for another chance. She literally went to get her laptop and tried to apply for jobs on Indeed while begging. I just told her to cut the BS and that I tried my best, but she just kept giving me empty promises. I told her the following. I know her trying to smash with me was just a manipulation tactic, and not to show her devotion to me as she puts it. If she was truly sorry, why didn't she start applying for jobs immediately instead of waiting until I confronted her? Her complete disregard for any of my feelings and needs while purely pursuing her own shows me how selfish she actually is. She knows about my health and still chose to completely betray me. And now this part pissed me off a lot. Her poisoning my son against me when this all started was beyond messed up, and looking back, was enough of a reason to divorce her. We ended up fighting for another hour or so, and her constant screaming ended up waking up our daughter, and that's when I told my wife to shut up and go to bed. The following day, my mom called me during work and asked if I had lost my mind or something. My wife told my mom that I was going to divorce her. She claimed that I was bringing serious shame onto the family and that she didn't raise me to abandon my kids. Yep, my wife told my mom that I was planning on abandoning my kids and has been feeding my kids the same BS. I explained to my mom the reasons why I wanted a divorce, but she won't budge. If I divorce my wife, I'm a disgrace of a man, and my mom wants nothing to do with me. I know my mom well enough to tell that her words are just empty threats, but what hurts me most are the reactions of my kids. My son won't look me in the eyes and won't even let me anywhere near his room. My daughter just tries to hit me whenever I try to talk to her. I've tried explaining to them that I'm, in fact, not going to give up on them and that their mom and I are just going to separate, but they just seem to believe whatever BS my wife tells them. Friends and in-laws also claim that I'm a monster for making my wife go through this. My wife was served with divorce papers 2 days ago and has been crying nonstop since. She told my kids about the divorce papers, and they both claim that they will never talk to me again. In my son's words, I'm a bad husband and father. I cried myself to sleep that night. I thought divorce would bring me peace, but it's only brought me one step closer to taking my life. As I stated in my previous post, I have nothing and am nothing without my kids. Growing up with nothing as a refugee in Germany, I promised myself that I would give my kids a life that I myself could have only dreamed of, but I feel like I've failed. I'm sorry for making this post longer than it has to be. Again, I just want to thank everyone for the love and support, but this will probably be my last post. Wishing you all a lovely week.